Is sponsored by Dave Stahl. It's time to get educated on your Second Amendment rights. Welcome to 2 full hours of Gun Owners Radio. Your hosts Dave Stahl, Joe Dramisi, and Michael Schwartz will teach you about firearms, self-defense, and the laws that affect your rights to keep and bear arms. Visit gunownersradio.com with questions to learn how to become a sponsor of Gun Owners Radio and get involved. Together, we will win. Now here's your hosts, Dave Stahl, Joe Dramisi, and Michael Schwartz on The Answer San Diego.
All right, folks. Hey, welcome to Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
All right, that was Action Jackson. Did you need your mic turned up or turned down? Turned down? Is it too loud in your ear?
Yeah.
Is that why there's blood coming out of your ear? Let me find a cable. So, Michael, start talking.
He can take it. So, if you have legal matters that involve firearms...
Oh, get out of there. That's my job.
Oh, that's your job.
Oh, I was just trying. Does that sound better?
Yeah.
That's why you never take a day off of work right there. Someone will jump right in.
I noticed. You see how I panicked I got there for about 2 seconds? Hey, if you do have legal matters that involve firearms, then you do need to call our attorney, John Dillon, especially if you have questions about red flag laws, gun registration, gun transportation, or maybe you just need to know that your guns are California compliant. Call our trusted firearms attorney, John Dillon. John Dillon specializes in California gun laws. Call 760-642-7150 or go to his website, DillonLawGP.com.
Awesome. So we have some breaking news. I don't know if we prepared the
Sounds like you surprised the breaking news guy.
I prepared I probably should have told the There it is.
I wasn't ready.
See, I like that typewriter thing.
Yeah. So, over the weekend, Front Sight, we've all heard of Front Sight. We've interviewed Piazza. We promote the charity shoot every year. That's at Front Sight. Front Sight came out with a list of new charges. So they're going to start charging you. Basically now, if you have a membership, you pay $50 and you get to, they do your background check for that $50 and you get to go all year. You get to take as many classes as you want. Now they've implemented a bunch of new charges, like $25 a day for staff and $25 a day for the house. And anyway, a 4-day class is now somewhere in the $300 range, from near as I can tell.
Still doesn't sound like a bad deal.
It's not a bad deal, but when you're used to paying nothing, or $50, all of a sudden,
maybe they need to make a living.
Well, that's
I know it's
how
an odd
people
concept,
are, right?
I know it's an odd concept, but
Well, that's what we talk about entitlements in the government, right? Once you start something, you can't stop it.
I know.
it's
Now they're
hard
entitled.
because then you got people complaining.
Right.
Well, it used to
It's our
be
right.
free. How come it's not free?
I mean,
anymore?
what I do get, or if you purchased your membership in the last year or so, and you paid thousands, and you were under the impression you were getting something, and that just changed, I totally get why you're upset. But there are a number of us who've been going for like a decade and spending no money.
I was going to say, how much did you pay?
Yeah, so I'm going to miss. I'm probably not going to participate in the.
Oh, you will too.
No, I really, truly. In fact, the charity shoot's been canceled, which was not my decision. The people that organized the charity shoot, they canceled it. So I'm probably not going to participate in the new pricing structure.
I just heard that sheriff from last week is going to go, and that's why you're not going.
Yeah.
He's not a sheriff yet. He's a sheriff wannabe.
He's a sheriff wannabe.
I got
First time you said something about it. Thank goodness. It took forever.
I've been hearing a lot. That was a famous interview.
Yeah, but you didn't want to say nothing.
Why? Because Michael was going really well, and I didn't want to. I just didn't want to jump in and say exactly what he
I
was
liked
saying
it when you
anyway.
stood up. That was the best part.
I don't remember standing up. I must have been really mad.
You were pretty upset.
Yeah, I got some feedback on that.
Did you get a little? Did he call you back?
No, I didn't get any feedback from him.
Oh.
So his whole interview was nothing but feedback.
By the way, I did hear that he's out of the race.
Yeah.
That was it.
I got to tell you, just about.
I mean, really?
Yeah, he's got just about no shot of winning now. So
Yeah.
keep in mind, we will have our list of endorsements coming up here in about a month or two. So we will. I'm 90% sure we're going to have an endorsement for sheriff. So everybody, sit down. What do you think of that? Who are you voting for, Jackson?
As he looks at his mom. I don't know. I can't vote. I'm too short. You can't even reach the box.
How you doing, man? It's good to see you back.
Good.
I like your new haircut.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's very high and tight. Did you enlist in the Marine Corps over the last week?
No.
No.
Or did your dad cut your hair when you were sleeping?
No.
Did your mom cut your hair when you were asleep?
No.
I like it, man. It looks slick. Seriously, it looks really, really good.
How could you tell he's wearing a hat?
Why? Because I saw it when he had his hat off. Yeah. So it looks good. It looks good. How was the range yesterday? You went to the range, right?
Yeah.
And you went up to Paula.
Yep.
What was your favorite part? Do you remember?
Shooting the steel targets because I never shot a steel target.
Oh, you like that bling, 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 bling? Yeah, you like that, huh?
He ran a plate rack with his Glock in what was it, Mom and Dad? Like 10 seconds, ran it clean.
You can't even do that.
I doubt I can. You're gonna have to teach me how to do that, man.
I just want to see you run.
No. I don't mean. You don't actually have to run.
Oh, okay.
He just it's what is it, like 8 plates or something like that, and you shoot it and
6.
6 plates, and you knock it down, and he did it in like 10 seconds.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did you open your eyes?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just checking because you never know.
Well, that's cool. It looked like you were having fun.
Tell about the monster trucks. That's what was cool.
Yeah.
Monster
See?
trucks.
You can have those guns.
Grave digger.
That's right.
Who's your favorite?
Obviously, Gravedigger.
Obviously.
Got his picture with Anderson in the background. I was very impressed.
Yeah.
That was one of the heavy hitters.
Who didn't somebody put your sticker on their jalopy on their car?
Son of a digger did, actually. Ryan Anderson.
Wow.
Jackson, did you hear what he called a monster truck? Did you hear him call that a jalopy?
The jalopy.
Should we ever talk to him again? Probably not. What do you think?
Nice
Jalopy.
Nice big old automobile.
We call it a Tin Lizzie as well, if you want to do that one too.
Oh, you're even worse.
That's a cool name, whatever.
A 10 Lizzie?
Yeah, thank you. See? He didn't hear it fix my clock. Jeez Louise.
You might be. That reference might be before your time, Action Jackson.
Yeah, probably so. Tin Lizzie.
Well, that's cool, man. So you went monster trucks, and then you went to the range. You had a pretty full week, young man.
Yep.
Got a haircut?
Got a haircut.
Slept good?
Real good.
See?
Did you shoot any rifles when you were out yesterday, or just your handgun?
Yes, I shot my my Ruger 1022,
Nice.
chambered in 22.
Yeah. How did you like that?
It was good, especially for shooting it in and I haven't shot in a long time, so I'm glad I got to get back to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, those 1022s are really, really nice too. Really nice shooting.
Yeah.
Nice flat shooting. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool, man.
I need to get mine out again. I haven't shot mine in a while. That I won.
That is, Dave, that is way too much gun for you.
I don't know. I have 2 people hold it for me. I won that at Gun Prom.
Hey, awesome.
See?
Gun Prom,
Nice.
June 18th. We're gonna be able to start buying tickets. You coming to Gun Prom again this year?
Yes, I am.
There you go. All right, cool. You bringing Chase?
Yep.
That'll be awesome. It'll be fun. So Gun Prom, June 18th, everybody. We're going to start selling tickets in about a week or 2 in February. So come on out and have fun.
Yeah.
Possibly win a gun.
Or 2.
Yeah. So we had our monthly meetings last week. Those all went fantastically well. Thank you, Gunthers, and thank you,
American Shooters.
American Shooters, and of course, Labella's Pizza down in Chula Vista.
What'd you shoot down there?
Oh, we didn't shoot anything.
Oh, you just had a medium.
Yeah, I shot some pepperoni.
Yeah.
About it.
Did you go to that? Did you go get some pepperoni?
No, he didn't. He didn't make it. He
He
didn't
didn't.
make it to the meeting.
Yeah.
He had other important business.
Well,
to
he's a
attend.
very important guy. You got to go through his secretary.
Yeah.
Right? You have a
Yeah.
secretary.
And also, speaking of...
About the raffle? No? Oh, nothing yet.
No,
Nothing.
not yet.
We might have an announcement later.
All right, folks. Welcome back to Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The answer.
Do you have the right to defend yourself outside the home? So Tom King from the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association in the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association suit of them versus Bruen is next.
Maybe.
Now we could talk about it anyway.
Oh. All right. Well, that sounds like a plan. But first, self-defense and emergencies can happen. to anyone, and there's no guarantee that the justice system will be on your side. Make sure you are protected for the legal battle after your self-defense battle. While you protect your family and property, U.S. Law Shield is here to defend you 24/7, 365 days a year with a comprehensive self-defense coverage at an affordable price. Bad guys don't take days off, and neither does our coverage. Listeners, you can get a free T-shirt when you use the code GUNOWNERSRADIO. Sign up today. Go to uslawshield.com. All right, so Tom has not called in yet.
You didn't call in? Well,
So Joe, what can you tell us?
I don't want to interrupt Michael. Go ahead, Michael. What were you going to say?
So New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, basically it was extremely difficult to transport a firearm in the state of New York. They had the Heller versus DC case in 2008, which affirmed that, yes, it is an individual right, so it's a civil right. But really it just ruled on your right to, there's two rights in the Second Amendment, your right to keep and your right to bear arms, so basically own and carry. And Heller versus DC weighed in on your right to keep because that's what it was all about, but it didn't really address carry. So that's what this case hopefully will do, is address your right to bear arms. It worked its way up to the Supreme Court, and there were actually a couple different iterations, I guess, and there were a couple of different cases. We actually had our own case out here, the Peruta case, which the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals said that you don't have a right to bear arms. You basically what they said is you don't have a right to a CCW. So they kind of punted. They were in a tight spot. They didn't want to say, hey, you don't have a right to bear arms. So what they did is they said, you know what, you don't have a constitutionally protected right to be issued a CCW.
Yeah. What is this punting thing? I mean, if you worked for me and I said, Mike, I need you to do this project, and you just said, yeah, I just don't think I can do it. I'll just punt it down the road. How do we get? I don't understand how we get away with that.
Well, so the judges on the Ninth Circuit Court, the majority of them still are anti-gun. So it's not that they're anti-Second Amendment or whatever. They're anti-gun, meaning that they don't like you having the ability to own and carry a gun, and they want it severely restricted. So a case was put in front of them that was crystal clear.
Sure.
Basically saying, hey, look, if you can't carry open and you can't carry concealed, what do you do here? I mean, if it's illegal to open carry, and the only option you have is to get a CCW and carry concealed, then they have to issue those permits.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very, very clear question, and they kind of messed around and bobbed and weaved and decided, you know what, you don't have a constitutionally protected right to a CCW. So suddenly they became strict constructionists, I guess, and they said, well, it doesn't actually say CCW in the Constitution.
I've been waiting for that one.
So,
well, and again, but it does say bear arms, right? It says keep and bear arms. So what does bear arms mean?
You have to own a bear.
And the same thing. If you don't understand bear arms, then you certainly don't understand the shall not be infringed part either.
Well, I'm totally with you. Not only that, but I mean, if you compare that to other rights, the most famous and most controversial, of course, would be abortion. The Ninth Circuit Court agrees that you have the right to get an abortion. It doesn't say abortion anywhere in the Constitution. So it's totally hypocritical. You know what I mean? So, and the reason it's hypocritical and the reason they put on blinders and went down this very, very narrow road is because they knew they were wrong, number one, the judges. And number two, they were grasping, so they're trying anything in order to not have to say, hey, yeah, you have a right to bear arms. Therefore, CCWs have to.
But who's going to call them on it?
The Supreme Court. So
you think?
Well, so the Supreme Court, that's the next step. You go to court.
But if they don't want to hear it, they just go, it's been a bad day.
So they didn't want to hear that case, and there was another carry case out of New York that they didn't want to hear. But what ended up happening is one of the reasons the Supreme Court takes a case is that there's a split. One district says yes, the other district says no. So part of the Peruta case,
and that does make them take it.
That's one of the reasons they have to take it. So I just heard that Tom King, the executive director from the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, is on. Tom, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So we were setting some of the context for your case. Why don't you brief us on it? Tell us a little bit about the case that you're involved in.
Well, it started out that the county that I live in, there's a couple of judges who have a hard time giving pistol permits, never give concealed carry permits, and I received a bunch of complaints. So I brought it to the NRA, and we discussed it, and we decided it's a case to go along with. Okay, this was about 4 years ago. It took that long to wind through the courts. And finally, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals ruled against us, and we applied for cert to the Supreme Court and had a lot of amicus briefs filed, and they took the case.
So tell us a little bit about what were the restrictions? If this was a New York State, right? Not the city, but the state.
No, New York State.
Okay, so New York State. What were the restrictions? It sounds like it wasn't direct carry. It wasn't a CCW thing. You weren't carrying for self-defense. It was a general transportation thing? No. What this was is it was New York State, rather than a shall issue, has a may issue, is a may issue state, meaning that they can turn you down if they want to, if they feel that you don't have a good enough reason for having getting a pistol permit. Okay, tell us what a pistol permit is.
A pistol permit is anything that you have to have. It's a permit that you have to have in New York State to own or possess a pistol.
Okay. All right, but it's not a carry permit. It doesn't allow you to carry the pistol loaded.
Well, it can be. Okay. And in many counties in the state, they're extremely easy to get. In some counties, it's 50-50 whether you'll get it, and in other counties, you just won't get it.
And if you don't have it, you can't own or carry?
You can't own or carry in New York State.
And if you do have it, you can definitely own, and you may or may not be able to carry?
Depending on whether the judge – see, the issuing officer in New York State, there's 62 issuing officers, okay, who someone in every county of New York State is an issuing officer. Most of the time it's judges. Sometimes county clerks, sometimes it's sheriffs. Okay, and depending on the politics of the county and the issuing officer, you may get a pistol permit that is restricted to a sportsman's use, which means hunting, fishing, and hiking. Okay, or you can get a concealed carry permit, which allows you to carry it anytime, anywhere, with the exception of the 5 boroughs of New York City.
Did you say hiking?
Sure.
Okay.
Interesting.
That was just something that I threw in.
Oh.
Any outdoor activity.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't specifically say hiking.
Okay, gotcha.
Interesting. So if you just, I just want to recap. So because we're here in California and people are in other states, it works a little different. So if you want to purchase a firearm, if you want specifically a handgun, you have to go get this permit. Now, what's involved in getting the permit? Is there a test, or how do you get the permit?
No, there's no test. You have to take a safety course, which is about. But it depends on county too. Somewhere between 3 and 4 hour course. Okay, and it's very rudimentary safety, and you can't handle the firearm. You can't shoot it during this course, and upon successfully passing the course, you put in the application for the permit. And the application is all your personal information, name, address, telephone number, social security number, and you have to supply 4 personal references that the state or the issuing officer's county will check up with every person that you put down as a personal reference. They will check that out to make sure that the person that you've is real, okay, and that he believes that you're capable of owning a firearm.
So part of it is they're registering you as a gun owner. Part of it is they're making you go through a proficiency test, and part of it is they're doing a background check.
Yes.
Okay.
But you can't do this in every county. So if I live in a county that won't allow me to get a permit or a gun, can I go to another county?
No, you have to get it in the county that you live in.
So I would have to move.
Well,
Yes.
similar to California and our CCWs.
With the CCWs.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you went into a county that basically didn't issue, and you said, "Hey, I want to buy a handgun," and they were not motivated to issue you one, what would be their excuse?
They don't need one. They all they have to do is, and hence part of the reason for the lawsuit is they just said they will just say that you don't have a good reason to own a firearm or carry a firearm.
Interesting. How much does this whole process cost?
It's relatively cheap. Depending on how much you get charged to have your fingerprints taken, you have to submit some fingerprints, anywhere from $50 to $150.
Okay.
And it's a lifetime license.
All right, so you go into a county that generally will issue, and then even above and beyond that, they still may not issue. It can also act like a concealed carry weapons permit, and they may not give you that power. So they may say, all right, you can own the gun, but you can't carry it around concealed for protection, right?
Yes, that is true. And what it's called is a restricted and unrestricted license. Okay, and most of the counties have some degree of restriction or others. And in those counties, you can still get a concealed carry permit if they deem your reasons for wanting it reach the standards that they've set. By the way, they don't tell you what the standards are.
All right, we're gonna hold them over. We're gonna talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is way too important. I thought California was bad. Hey, does selling your home feel overwhelming? Well, it doesn't have to be that way. With Scott Vinson from Coldwell Bankers Royal Realty, Scott Vinson is the perfect guide to help you sell or buy your home. Scott has also been a San Diego County gun owner board member from the very beginning. So if you're moving, let fellow Second Amendment supporter and real estate broker Scott Vinson help you sell your home and find you a new home anywhere in the United States. Call him today at 619-948-2459. Tell him you heard about him on Gun Owners Radio. That's Scott at 619-948-2459. Or you can go online to scottvinson.com, and that's VINSON.
Cool. All right, we're talking to Tom King. He is the executive director for the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association. Hey, we were just talking about your case, your carry case, and we were talking about the difficulties that are presented to New Yorkers when they're trying to own or carry a firearm. But let's talk about your organization a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association.
Well, New York State Rifle and Pistol Association was founded in 1871 by a group of Union officers, two generals and a colonel. And the reason that they formed the association initially, it was a competition in shooting organization, was that right after the Civil War, they were so disgusted with the quality of the American marksman that they decided to set up an organization that would teach the people how to shoot.
That sounds really, really close to the NRA. Were these the same guys that started the NRA as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sorry. Did I say 1971 for forming? We were formed in 1871.
1871. Yeah.
1871. Okay.
Which I think was the same year as as NRA. Was it the same?
9 months before.
9 months before. Was it the same guys or no?
The same guys.
Same guys that set up the NRA, set up the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association. Awesome.
Yep.
And so you guys fight for the Second Amendment on the state and local level. Is that the idea?
Yep, we do. We run junior programs, shooting all the shooting disciplines. We have state championships. We send teams to the national championships. We're pretty much all involved with the shooting sports in New York State.
Very cool.
And as bad as it seems, upstate New York is typically much better than everything that you hear about in downstate. The pistol permit process is still onerous It's not as bad as New York City's, but it's still onerous. And we do what we can. Okay. I also serve on the NRA board of directors.
Very cool.
And and it's we work hand in hand with them day in, day out. And they're a big supporter of our Second Amendment case. They've been behind us right from the very beginning, and frankly, we couldn't have gotten where we are without the NRA.
That's excellent. Really appreciate that. So where are we currently with the case? The arguments were heard a couple months ago. Give us a little briefing on the status of the lawsuit.
I don't know. And the reason I say that is nobody knows, because after the arguments are made, you can't submit anything else. You can't take anything else out of the argument. It goes to the Supreme Court. They do their magic on it, look at all the amicus briefs, check the laws that are cited and everything, and they don't release any news. We will not hear word one about it until the decision comes down, which we're thinking is going to be somewhere from the middle of May to the middle of June, somewhere in that area.
But it was the arguments were heard in front of the 9 justices 2 months ago, right?
Yes.
And
right.
Is the head attorney is it Paul Clement? Okay, Paul Clement.
Yeah.
And he's
Paul is a former Solicitor General of the United States under Bush, and a great attorney. He's argued many cases in the Second Amendment, and he did a really good job on arguing this.
Yeah, he's huge. He's as big as it gets.
Yep.
So how do you feel the arguments? How do you feel the justices responded? Was there anything in particular that stuck out to you?
Well, there was one question when the Attorney General lawyer was attempting to make a statement and justify what they called sensitive areas, that maybe you shouldn't be able to carry a pistol in, a concealed pistol in. And they were saying that New York City was one of those. And Roberts asked the question. And she went on to say that she could understand why people who were out hiking or fishing in the wilds of upstate New York would want to have a pistol with them. And Roberts asked her, so you're telling me that more people are mugged and attacked in the outdoors in upstate New York than there are in New York City?
Yeah, I liked that a lot. What was the reaction?
That was the reaction. Didn't say a word. Didn't have an answer for it.
Well, we're pretty proud. We're here in San Diego, and San Diego was talked about as an example of a successful. We were basically not issuing, and now we're just short of shall issue, and we were held up during the arguments as a success story, which we're very, very proud of that.
Absolutely, I remember reading that. I've read through almost all of the amicus briefs, and that was mentioned in it, and I do remember the comment about San Diego. That's great, and that's the way it will be all over. Anywhere that in the United States that the laws have been loosened and the lawful citizen of this country has been given the right to carry a permit, crime is dropped, and a violent crime, gun crime, it's become a safer place to live. But that's something that the anti-gunners just will not acknowledge and try to say just the opposite. I don't know how many times it's been said to me, what do you want? You want this to be a cowboy town, blood running in the streets, like the OK Corral, and that just doesn't happen. It's been proven time and time again.
Yeah, so out here the law didn't actually change. It was the NRA, and Paul Clement was a part of this case as well. NRA sued the sheriff because it was entirely up to him as far as issuing. The Ninth Circuit ruled in the sheriff's favor and said, nope, we're not going to compel him to issue CCWs. But it was our group, San Diego County Gun Owners, we put a ton of political pressure on him, and he started to issue, and now they're very proud of their CCW program. They're actually really proud of it, and they're pumping out maybe 200 a month now. And generally, if you pass the background check, if you pay the fee, you fill out the application, generally you're going to get a CCW. Now, you still have to write good cause, but he's basically spelled out this is what we're looking for when it comes to good cause, and it really nobody falls short. So it's been very successful.
That's really great. In our lawsuit, if we're successful at it, and the Supreme Court ruled that way, the need for good cause is going to be done away with. If you're not otherwise prohibited, the court may very well say that the Second Amendment right guarantees you the right to carry a pistol concealed to protect yourself.
So let's talk about that. What do you? Because I get this question a lot. Well, what's it going to do? What's going to happen? What would you say, Tom? Do you think the best case scenario is that they get rid of the good cause requirement? Everything else stays. You got to pay the fee. You got to go through the background check. Got to go through the class. But they just get rid of that good cause requirement. You think that's the most likely?
Yeah. Or? Well, I don't think they'll get away from the the requirement for a pistol permit and all that, because it was either Heller or McDonald. I don't remember which one for sure right now, but it gave the states the permission to set up some kind of a regulation to control that. Okay, but they didn't go far enough on it, and that's what our lawsuit. That's what we're hoping our lawsuit is going to do. It's going to, besides saying that you have. I'm sorry, we're at a little party at my house.
Little football party. No, that's okay. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, and we're hoping that they're going to do a couple of things. One, do away with the need cause, and say that anybody who is a lawful citizen and not otherwise prohibited by law, from having a criminal background or whatever, okay, you'll be able to get a concealed carry permit. And we're also hoping that they're going to change the method that they look at this on, the scrutiny levels that they use. Most Second Amendment cases are looked at with intermediate scrutiny. All other civil rights are looked at with strict scrutiny. And we're hoping that they made comments about that in the Heller decision, and we're hoping that they're going to demand that that's how Second Amendment cases are looked at from now on.
Now, what will that do if you're in our audience and you don't know what that means? You don't know what strict scrutiny means. How would you describe that change in how the justices analyze these cases?
In intermediate scrutiny, the states or the municipalities have the ability to argue that the common good or the common safety is reason for limiting a constitutional right. Strict scrutiny says, you can't do it.
So it basically kind of gets rid of that, think of the children, that whole,
right.
kind of gets rid of that emotional, well, gee, golly gosh, people, I get you. So do you think that so we're not going to get open carry? I know a number of people are wondering.
No, that's not going to happen.
Not even an option. And that makes sense. It's not a part of the case. Not even being entertained. The most likely.
Not with this lawsuit.
Not with this lawsuit. The most likely scenario is just getting rid of the good cause requirement. The 13 sentences we have to write to the sheriff that explains, why we might be in danger of being attacked. That'll go away.
Sure.
Everything else will stay in place.
Yes. As far as I know, it depends on you just don't know how you don't know how they're going to rule. I mean, they may do a really wide decision that says, all that stuff has to go away, but you don't know. Okay, and
right.
It's second guessing the the Supreme Court is near impossible.
Well, how can people support? If people are listening and they think, man, this is great, I want to give $10, where do they go?
Well, you can go to our website, www.nysrpa.org, www.nysrpa.org, and there's a button on there you can press to make a donation. And may I do an unabashed commercial?
Quickly, sure.
For myself?
Very quick.
Okay, I'm running for re-election to the NRA Board of Directors this year. The ballots are going to be in the magazines as usual. Please vote for me. I need your support.
Tom King, Executive Director, New York State Rifle and Pistol Association. Thank you for joining us.
So we're supposed to coordinate for this intro here, right?
Maybe we should do like a little barbershop quartet thing.
All right, hey, most
That
companies
was nice.
waste a lot of money on marketing. And the reason why is because they don't have a clear message. You're wasting money on your website, your social media, and your advertising if you don't have a clear, easy to understand message. Sage Tree gets it. Since 2005, Sage Tree has been helping companies clarify their message and connect with customers. Contact them today and learn more about their proven system to help you get a better return on your investment from your marketing dollars. Go to sagetree.com and learn a whole lot more.
So the county, in their infinite wisdom, they are voting on Tuesday for a couple things that have to do with firearms regulations in the county. They're going to vote on a storage. The regulation they're going to vote on has a storage component, which means you have to store your firearms either locked in a safe or inoperable. Taken apart and inoperable.
Not your headboard?
Nope.
Okay.
Unless you're touching the firearm.
Oh, I do. I sleep with it. I got my hand inside.
It's just in there. Well, that's a little scary, number one. But
Crampy, too.
hopefully you don't have any bad dreams. And this only affects the unincorporated areas. So the jurisdiction doesn't reach into the cities. There are 18 cities in San Diego. San Diego and Del Mar and Encinitas and Santee and El Cajon, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
All of them? I mean,
Alpine.
Alpine's not an incorporated city.
But it affects me.
It affects you.
Yeah.
So Lakeside, Alpine, Julian,
Right.
it
Okay.
affects you.
Del Cerro and
Oceanside, San Marcos,
Right.
Vista, Carlsbad doesn't affect them. Yeah. So if you live in the unincorporated areas, you're going to have to store your firearms. Unless you're actually touching them, you have to store them inoperable or locked up. That's part of it. The other part of it is if you're looking to manufacture your own firearm, you're looking to make a firearm from scratch, you can only buy the raw materials that are already serialized. Now, where do you get that, Dave?
Well, I'm building a howitzer, so I don't know.
It's because it doesn't exist.
But
You can't buy it.
And how are they going to administer this?
Well, they just basically they turn it. It's a crime if you have a chunk of metal or whatever, but usually a chunk of metal, and they say, hey, that's a precursor of a firearm, and it's not serialized. Well, now you're a criminal.
But what if it's not? What if it's not a
Well, then you got to prove it in court, right? But
Okay,
what they're really targeting are the 80% kits.
Yeah. But let's go back to
Sure.
I got to sleep with all my guns in bed with me now.
Yeah.
I mean, how are they going to? Well,
It's got all the characteristics of the perfect California law because it's unenforceable.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Okay.
It actually makes it more dangerous for people.
yeah.
And we were talking about we're going to talk a little bit about county politics and the things here. And one of the reasons you get this kind of stuff, and it goes back to what Michael always says about getting the right people in office and stuff. Whenever I talk to when I talk about San Diego County gun owners at class or in these seminars and stuff, I always talk about how two things that we do. We try to get or the two reasons we do what we do is we try to get good Second Amendment friendly people elected throughout the county, throughout the cities and the Board of Supervisors, pretty much any elected office out here. And for two reasons. For, the one reason, if you get the wrong people in office, you get this kind of goofiness. And we see that all the time locally. And then the other reason is, the bad people that end up in Sacramento and Washington start locally. And it's much easier to influence local elections than it is to influence state elections. And just from last week, we were talking about this off air. The guy that was running for sheriff that you interviewed last week.
Yeah, nice guy.
Well, it's interesting because I got a bunch of people talking to me about that interview. They loved it. But, with that guy, and this is something you see locally, and this is something I used to do, actually, before I got involved with San Diego County gun owners. When you see somebody running locally, a lot of times you don't know a lot about them. With the state offices and federal, you know all those people a lot of times. But locally, you don't. And what you'll see is, okay, that's the Republican guy they're endorsing. All right, I'll vote for him.
Yeah.
And this guy in particular, claims he'll probably get the Republican endorsement, I would imagine, here, if he stays in the race. But he claimed the same thing, the military background. And, I took a look because he's saying, okay, military, 30 years in the military, and then a beat cop. So, well, how does that work? And I looked, and there was some really good information on the, what is that? The organization. It's the Honorary Deputy Sheriff's Association.
Right.
They had a nice blurb on each of the 4 candidates, and they had a whole bunch of information. And it turns out, yes, 30 years in the Marine Corps, but like 20-something of it was in the reserves. And, anybody that's been in the service knows that there's a huge difference between 30 years active duty and 30 years as a reservist. And they say these kinds of things. And, from the interview last week, obviously the guy's not
Honest.
not a pro Second Amendment person at all.
But he seemed offended that you questioned his motives.
Well, that's par for the course with candidates.
But I mean, he was taken back that you were so upset with his, way of looking at things.
But see, people tend to vote for people like that. Okay, he's a Republican. All right, I'll vote for him. Not really knowing, not really understanding.
Yeah.
And, you need to look at that kind of stuff at the county level and, the local level, because that's where you get people like that you just don't know.
And here's the other piece of that. So on Tuesday, they're going to vote for these 2 regulations, the storage and the, basically banning the manufacture of firearms, that, banning the 80% kids. What chance do we have to stop that? Probably about somewhere between slim and none.
None.
Now, we need to, and please, if you got our email the last couple weeks, go in there. We're asking you to please email the 3 supervisors that voted against this. Please do it. Please email them. Please, make your voice heard.
Who are they?
The 3 that voted for it.
That voted for it.
Yeah.
Voted against us, vote for the regulation,
who
which
are
are,
they?
of course, Nathan Fletcher. It's his baby.
Okay.
And then Lawson up in North County, and then
Vargas
down in South County.
Okay.
So email them and say, hey, I'm totally against this thing. Please vote against it. Make sure your voice is heard. But the chances now, this is a Hail Mary. This is 4th quarter, 1 second left. Mm-hmm. We're on the, 1. We need a 99-yard, touchdown pass. How often does that work? Well, it doesn't. It hardly ever works, if ever. So, but what does work? Well, getting the right people elected. That definitely works. That's not a Hail Mary pass. So what Joe's saying goes hand in hand with what's going on Tuesday. We can't continue to rely. People ask, well, gee, what are we going to do? San Diego County gun owners, what are we going to do? We're going to do our best. But once they're in office, that's it. Mm-hmm. We've lost a lot of the leverage we have. Now we got to go get them unelected. We got to, but getting people elected like we saw in La Mesa with Laura Lothian, we can get people elected. Now, unfortunately, we should have one more person on the county board, and that's Kristen Gaspar, but she we couldn't quite get the support to keep her in office. If she were there now, this wouldn't be happening. And, that's an important, elections have consequences. That's an important thing to know. And even her, by the way, she was not our friend at the beginning. People who've been with San Diego County gun owners long enough know that we we helped convert her to our side and to vote our way. So, anyway, it's really, really important. And this stuff spreads. They didn't just think this stuff up in San Diego. It came from somewhere, and it's not going to stop here. So it's really, really crucial, and it's really unfortunate. But hopefully you hear this and don't get discouraged, but you get encouraged and empowered to help us going into the election season, because we're probably about 6-8 weeks away from having a list of endorsed candidates that need your help.
And don't think sending a text or an email is a waste of time.
It's not a waste of time.
Well, a lot of people think that.
Yeah, it's not a waste of time, but it's
better to get ahead of it.
Yeah, if that's the only thing you've done, it's not enough. It's not a waste of time, but it's nowhere near enough. We need people to do the things it takes to get the right people elected, so that little guys like Action Jackson have a future when it comes to the Second Amendment. So,
well, people should get involved in that stuff too. Nathan Fletcher's running in November, right?
He is. And,
he's a Marine.
Yep.
Yes, and it's the same thing. It's used to be a Republican.
I know.
Well, he and the guy that runs the Democratic Party, both are anti-gun. Both were in the Marine Corps. Both used to be Republicans. His name's Will Kennedy Rodriguez. He was the I think I got his name right.
Probably couldn't shoot.
Well, I think it's interesting that two of the highest-ranking Democrats in San Diego County used to be Republicans. Doesn't that indicate that Republicans do everything better, including be Democrats? They're even better at being Democrats than Democrats. Anyway, we're nonpartisan. Always got to say that. But get involved. Check out our email. If you didn't get our email us and say, "Hey, I want to get involved. I want to start receiving."
It's on the website,
email.
right?
Well, this information's not, but to get the information from the email, just let us know. We'll forward the email.
I'd send another blast out.
We're probably going to send another blast out, but if you didn't get the email on Thursday, you won't get the blast either. So we need to hear from you. If you're not getting our emails, join, become a member, or at the very least, sign up for our email list and help us out because, like I said, this is a big Hail Mary, but there's a lot more coming down the pike, and we need your help. We need your help. We need your dime and your time. That's all you got in politics is people and money.
That. That's a good one. That could be a T-shirt.
I know. Dime and time, right? How many dimes do you have, Jackson?
A lot of dimes.
You have a lot of dimes? Safe storage laws and scary ghost gun bans. Next with Joe Dramisi.
But first, PRMI Mortgage, primeres.com/Alpine. Are you in the military? Are you looking for help for a VA loan? Or if you're just looking to buy or refi? Or maybe you're considering a reverse mortgage. Call our local mortgage guy that you can trust. Call Chris Wiley at PRMI Mortgage. For nearly 25 years, Chris has been helping local San Diegans with all their mortgage needs. Call Chris Wiley at 619-722-1303 or primeres.com/Alpine. Well, Joe, tell us about safe storage laws.
Are you ready? You sure?
Always ready.
All right.
We had a good setup in the last
segment. So, yeah, it's interesting. The timing is coincidental too. What got me thinking about this. I was reading one of John Petrolino's articles last week, and John had written about there's a rep from Michigan, Alyssa, I guess, Slotkin, and she's proposing pretty much the same thing at the federal level that we're talking about here with the safe storage thing, and she's basing it on. Remember, there was a shooting a month or so ago at a school up in Michigan. The parents, I guess, had provided the gun to the kid, and now they're going after the parents for all that. So, using that as the pretext, she's going forward and presenting the safe storage law at the federal level. Everybody, and it's pretty similar to what they're talking about here. But it was interesting. That's what got me thinking about it, and. It's always the same stuff. Again, we just talked about the guy that may or may not still be running for sheriff, but saying he was a military guy and had this background and that background. And this representative, this congresswoman, has the same thing. 3 tours in Iraq, grew up with a gun-owning family. So allegedly she is a big Second Amendment supporter and everything. Just needs, we just need good common sense gun laws. So we need to lock things up. So that's reading John's article, which was really entertaining. It's a really good article. Got me thinking about it, and then just coincidentally, look, we're doing that here now with Nathan Fletcher.
Right.
And thinking about that, we talked a little bit about this in the last segment, and having these gun laws, it's like especially this one with the safe storage thing. I mean, what does it accomplish really? You can't make people responsible. I think fortunately. Probably 99% of gun owners are already responsible. They know what they need to do. They keep control of their firearms. They make sure that people that shouldn't be around them aren't around them. And they do what they need to do. The 1% that doesn't do that, a law is not going to make them do that. You're responsible or you're not responsible. And, so in that context, I guess the law really isn't going to do much. If, you were foolish enough to follow that. We were talking about this a little bit earlier too, where it's almost more dangerous. I mean, a lot of people have firearms around the house for self-protection. Okay, if you have to keep this thing disabled or if you have to keep it locked up, it's really not useful to you, I think, is for self-protection because that stuff happens fast. If you watch like John Correa's videos, things like that, occasionally they'll have home invasion footage and stuff like that. It happens very fast. People can come through your door, with a good kick, pretty much as fast as I can get through my door with a key, and it's, you got seconds to react or to do something. And, if your gun is locked up in the safe, it might as well be in New Jersey. I mean, it's not going to be useful to you. And this is something else that I learned in my journey with this stuff when I started carrying concealed. Because I was coming home at night and I was taking the gun off. I was locking it up in the safe. And I was laying in bed one night and I was thinking, if something happened, the gun's useless. I mean, I could never get to it in time. I could never get it out. I could never do anything with it. And it's funny because I talked to my wife. I said, hey, would it be okay if we just had this thing out here at night? And certainly, it'd be great, which I was almost surprised. But, again, if you're going to lock that stuff up.
Excitement level there.
Well, the
Good
thing,
for you, Nina.
yeah, I was really, it was exciting. But the thing about it is people need to be free to manage their own house. You're talking about a law that intrudes in your house. And like we were saying off air a little bit, my situation in my house is different, say, from Kelly and Walter, Jackson's parents, and how they manage firearms in their house, which might be different from how Michael has to do it. It's, it depends. Do you live by yourself? Do you have children around the house? Are your children grown? Or their grandchildren around? So everybody's a little bit different. And to try to make a law like that to say, okay, everybody has to do this, everybody has to do that. I mean, it's silly. It makes no sense at all.
Well, and there are two numbers. There are people that are who are there are about 30,000 people that die and where a firearm is involved every year, something like that. 2/3 of that, right? It's about 30,000. About 2/3 of that.
If you're going to count the suicides, is that where you're going?
2/3 of that are suicides. A storage law isn't really going to stop any kind of significant number there. I mean, is there? Are there some folks in there that maybe had the gun been like, I don't know, maybe, right?
Well,
maybe some. But the bigger number is the 3 million times per year someone uses a firearm to defend themselves.
Well,
and it's definitely going to stop there.
Yeah, and the argument about, and you made this comment a couple of weeks ago, we had some people on here that we're talking to about mental health and firearms and things like that. And you pointed out, there are a number of countries. Japan seems to be up at the top in terms of suicides around the world. Many more, and a much higher rate of suicide than we have in the United States. And yet no one in Japan owns a firearm. And there's several other countries that have higher suicide rates than we do. So it's not really, the suicide thing is a disingenuous argument, I think, because it is not a gun issue. It's a mental health issue. It's a different thing. But, the counter argument to that, they come back and say, well, a portion of these suicides are impulse type suicide. They're impulsive actions. If the person gets past that short period of time where they have that suicidal impulse, then maybe they won't.
So let's say that's true, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that's accurate. Let's say that there are a number of people buried in that 30,000 where had they not been able to access a firearm, there wouldn't have been a death. Let's okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but how many is that compared? How many of the 3 million people per year who defended themselves, in some way? How many of those 3 million wouldn't have been able to defend themselves had they not had access to a firearm as quickly because it's inoperable, it's locked up, whatever? And then compare the two. I mean, I think we're talking, is it a handful of people that, hey, maybe had it been locked up, they'd still be alive? Maybe it's a handful. I don't know. But it's definitely far fewer. So if you're really just looking at this thing, unemotional, you're not, you're looking at it, you're not really talking about rights, you're not really talking about emotions, you're just talking about pure numbers. You're just looking at it like a CPA would.
Well,
oh yeah, but they don't look at it that way, though. I mean,
it's a net positive.
Absolutely.
Okay, so here's a question: how many times have there been a home invasion and the people inside were killed? How many of the police reported that the guy had a gun safe, he was right close to it, and couldn't get it open?
Yeah, you would probably never hear. I mean, it's going to be hard to get that kind of information or hear that kind of information.
I don't know that number, but it
it
doesn't. It's preventable.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because if somebody comes blowing through, I mean, but the police are not going to report that.
Right.
They're never going to report that, which makes this whole conversation even worse than what it already is. I mean, if people were upfront, honest, and that kind of information was automatically part of the police report, then you'd have some statistics.
It may be, but it would never go beyond that. The media is never going to pick that up. They're never going to talk about it. So you won't find that information But again, you can't look at it as, why are they doing this? It's not a public safety thing. It's not an anti-crime thing.
That's my point.
Yeah, it's a control thing. So you can read about it this week.
And it was interesting, the comment made about, New York. What do you want, back in the cowboy days with blood all over the roads?
Well, yeah.
Haven't they been watching the news?
They just had 4 police officers
Haven't
shot,
they been
one of them
watching the
killed
news?
in New York City?
They've already got it. They just don't know it.
So Assembly Bill 173 requires the Department of Justice to release gun owners' private information to UC Davis and other universities. Just signed by Gavin Newsom, this bill is a huge privacy rights breach.
But first, American Shooters is the newest gun shop in San Diego and the Gun Owner Radio's newest show sponsor. If you're looking for a great gun shop for any of your firearm needs, go visit American Shooters. Tell Ernie you heard it about them on Gun Owners Radio. They have a great selection of new and used and consigned firearms. Visit American Shooters at 1464 Graves Avenue off the Bradley exit in El Cajon.
All right. Morgan Ballas, the Chief Firearms Instructor for Defensive Tactics and Firearms, and San Diego County Gun Owners board member, and personal friend, and fine judge of Scotch.
And he loves spaghetti from Denny's.
And he loves spaghetti from Denny's. Who doesn't?
How bad could that be?
Yeah. How you doing, Morgan?
Doing great. I'm definitely not a Denny spaghetti fan, but I appreciate
the rest.
Hey! Have you tried it?
Yeah.
I could not bring myself to. Although it did take me 3 tries on gas station sushi to realize that's a bad idea.
Oh, well, that's if you ever go to lunch with Mike, that's one of his gourmet choices.
Right.
So you'll know.
Like gas station sushi?
No, the spaghetti.
All right, Judgy. All right, listen, thanks for being on the show, man. How you doing?
Doing great. I appreciate you having me and talking about something that's definitely really important.
Yeah, so AB 173 passes, and I think it's kind of one of those.
What is AB 173?
AB 173 is basically they're going to allow gun owner information to be passed off to the academic world.
Yeah, and that was under the guise of research, right? They're supposed to be able to. It's supposed to be universities and other organizations.
Right. It's basic. What it really amounts to is universities in California that want to do research that will result in evidence that guns need to be banned. They're going to give them as much government information as they need in order to get to that conclusion. That's the way I see it. But it is, Morgan. Obviously, it's one of those. It's bad, but I don't think people realize how bad it is. I don't think people realize why it's bad. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm about 4 years into my PhD, and so I'm very familiar with the academic process and using human participants and just that whole aspect of research. And research is phenomenal. Research is something, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, that we should all encourage because data is powerful. Data should drive our policies. It should drive our training, our curriculum, all those things. However, there are some very specific ethical considerations, especially when we're using human participants. And I really feel from a research perspective that this bill, and by proxy UC Davis, who specifically named 173, essentially establishes the CA or the California Firearm Violence Research at UC Davis. I feel like they're violating their own policies when it comes to human research and getting consent. They're violating the fabric of the National Research Act and the Belmont Report. So for me as a researcher, I step back and I say, man, there's some potentially very negative consequences for participants in this study, and those participants are gun owners in California.
Well, and these aren't willing participants either. We didn't. Nobody asked me if I wanted to participate in this. So I think the potential for abuse there is tremendous. I think.
I think it is, and here's why. The NRAILA lawsuit specifically says that people provided this information specifically for law enforcement purposes, not research or to be used in any other capacity. But when we talk about informed consent, and the reason that that's important in research is because there are potential consequences for those participants, right? And as a California gun owner, if my information does get released in some way, then I can face those consequences. I can face maybe financial consequences from an employer that doesn't agree with my position, societal consequences, if people, the church I attend or those around me no longer want to interact with me. There's all those consequences. And the problem with this and not asking gun owners to provide their consent is there is zero way, there is no possibility that this information can be completely controlled. Meaning, let's just assume UC Davis and all the people that have their hands on this at that institution would 100% protect our personal information. As they share that, the number of people who get their eyes and hands on this becomes compounded. And those individuals along that process, they might see it as, hey, I have a responsibility to share this information. And here's where we know that this is a true possibility. If we go back to New York in 2012, what did we have? We had a newspaper that literally shared the name and addresses of individuals that were approved in New York to carry a handgun. So it's not far-stretched to say that someone that gets their hands on this information shares it, and we get gun owners that are outed here in California.
And what's the realistic danger there, Morgan?
I think the danger, it goes back to those individuals and those potential consequences, the societal, the financial consequences, or potentially for people to be targeted by criminals knowing that they have firearms in their house. But also, another big thing with research is I have to identify populations that are vulnerable populations, right? Children, people in prisons, mental health institutions, generally those are vulnerable populations. But think about some of our California residents and why they are purchasing firearms or getting their concealed carry permits. We have people that are victims of sexual assault, of domestic violence. These are the most vulnerable populations that you could possibly identify in research. So the potential is that those people are now going to be even more exposed, and they're going to suffer consequences beyond what maybe someone isn't in that same population might face.
So are you aware the NRA lawsuit, the NRA-ILA lawsuit, are you aware is part of the case that they're making that, hey, we didn't give consent and that goes against your, that's against the law to experiment on people without their consent? Is that an actual part of the lawsuit?
I don't know if that is. What I had read, it was just very general. I think it's a very strong position for them to bring forward. The university is going to counter. They're going to say, look, we have this entire process that anyone that wants this information, they have to, go through our institutional review board. They have to show how they're going to protect participants' information. But again, the problem with that is the number of people that are going to have access to that data as this continues to go forward. And look, again, I'm all for research. I think the solution here is simple. If you are purchasing ammunition, if you're purchasing a firearm, you add a consent statement to that purchase. You let people on their own decide whether or not they want to participate in this research. And I think that's an easy way, or that's how I would counter the argument, because what they're going to say is, if you look at UC Davis's standards, they're going to say, well, one of the exemptions is that we would not be able to gain access to this information. It's just impossible. Well, that's not true. You had a little box that says, would you like to participate in this research? Here's where you can get more information about how it'll be used. And then informed consent is now a possibility. So for me, I really feel like UC Davis and anyone else that gets involved in this is really going beyond those ethical standards of research and getting that informed consent.
Morgan, what do you see as a potential benefit, say, to the public of these organizations having access to that information? Because, if it was some kind of neutral subject or something like that, I could say, all right, well, maybe. But, gun ownership in this country is a pretty emotional subject, for both sides. And, universities and governments, particularly in California, don't have a great track record for, doing what they're supposed to be doing or keeping things confidential. So it seems like the risk is to people is pretty great. So what's the potential benefits then of this?
Let's just assume that we were able to truly protect people's individual information, right? That we maintain that standard no matter what. I think the benefit that is there, or potential benefit, is that we now have data that supports the position that law-abiding citizens, especially those that get their CCW permit, are far less likely to be involved in any crime, to include traffic violations, than other segments of the population, even than law enforcement officers. I think the data has the potential to demonstrate that increased firearm ownership does not correlate to increased crime for those individuals. So I think there's definitely some potentials for gun owners if there is truly unbiased research being conducted. And that may very well happen, There may be researchers out there that truly go into it thinking one thing, and they come out on the other end and they say, man, this really did change my opinion, and what I had thought the outcome was going to be, it's not the outcome.
So it seems like, like the specific examples you just gave, it seems like that information is already out there under, from different sources. Like you're familiar with the big study that was done in Florida with concealed carry holders, where they determined that they were arrested at 1/6 the rate of police officers, things like that. Right. Because, when you talk about crime and things, that if you're arrested for a crime or something like that, that becomes public. So that kind of information is out there. But it's just. Oh, go ahead.
Well, that's okay. Let's hold that thought hold that thought for 1 second, my friend. We do have to go pay some bills. We'll come back with Morgan Bayless, Chief Firearms Instructor for Defensive Tactics and Firearms. All right, folks, we are very proud to partner with the National Concealed Carry Association as a 10-ring partner. NCCA exists to serve the Second Amendment community by providing a nationwide network of 2A advocates. They offer elite self-defense and concealed carry training from the nation's top instructors. They provide rock-bottom prices on the best selection of gear and accessories. Join them today. Members get great prices and free shipping. Learn more about them at nationalconcealedcarryassociation.com.
All right, Morgan, continue that thought.
Yeah, you're going to have to reset me.
Well, so talk more about, where do you think this is going to go? I know you're not an attorney, and you didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn Express last night. But if you had to guess, what do you think the crux of this case is going to be decided on?
I think what it's going to come down to, well, first of all, I think that the position of the lawsuit is great, because what it's saying is that this information was given for law enforcement purposes with that sole intent, both by the people that provided that information and as the state said it was going to be used, right? So clearly, both of those assumptions were wrong as they now offer this up for a research study. I think what the other side is really going to focus on is that, hey, this information is protected, and the value gained, right? The benefit outweighs the risk, because we're going to gain vital information on crime, statistics, on all these other things. Now, I don't personally believe that, but I think that's the position that they're strongly going to take. They're going to go back to the institutional review boards and what are the standards for sharing this information and all the protections that they say are in place.
The information they're getting is, name and address and type of firearm, right? I mean, what kind of research can be done with the information they're getting?
I think what they would likely do is they're going to run criminal checks. They're going to run background checks on those individuals to some extent, check criminal databases, maybe look at self-inflicted gunshot wounds to try to see if there's any correlation there. Possibly look at the time frame from which someone purchased a firearm and ammunition and when something happened, whether that be a crime or some sort of injury or death. That is what I would suspect that they're using it for.
And I'm not sure. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but it's just who's getting that information. What is the definition of? We know, because we've experienced this being on this side of the conversation, that there are groups who claim to be doing research, right? Gun violence prevention research, and it's 100% biased. It's with a political goal in mind, and it really actually prevents us from having meaningful conversations in this space, and that's a scary thing for firearms owners in general.
I agree, but the information that we just talked about and the reason for it, this isn't the only way to get it either. So I guess what I'm saying is the conclusions they're going after. This isn't the only way they can get there. They can go to hospital reports, whatever. There's other ways to do this. So it's not even like this is completely and totally necessary to even get to where they're going. The problem is once information's released, it's released. You can't, you know what I mean? You can't, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
100%. And that's what goes back to the ethical side of what they're claiming that this is for, is that you cannot truly protect that information. And we're talking about people's social security numbers, right? So another question I would ask is, how is that information being shared between entities? How does the DOJ get that to the university? And if I submit a request for that information, how is that information then transferred to that next person, so on and so forth, right? Is that going out electronically? Is it a hard drive? And what are the risks even in just losing that individual information?
They just throw it on
it might sound like a petty thing, but that's a huge...
Throw it on a spreadsheet and they email it from their Yahoo account, I think is what...
I mean, that's almost guaranteed to happen. There's no way to reasonably keep that information secure. It's just not possible, in that kind of a situation.
Yeah, and you're completely correct. And the only way for some of this research that I would foresee it happening is they do have to have that information. They have to have the name and the social and those things to be able to gather that additional information to correlate whatever they're trying to look at. And again, you cannot reasonably protect those people's information. And then we go back full circle to their consent was never given to begin with, right? Now, if I give you my consent, then that's what it is. So the simple solution is add it. Just add a little box on whatever it is and let people decide whether or not they want to participate in the study.
Yeah, well, and then, of course, no one's going to participate, and I don't blame them. Because the other part of this is, how much do you trust academia? You know what I mean? Like, how much do you trust them to come to a real, true conclusion? How much do you trust the science that you think that they're going to practice?
Well, again, I think the potential is there for some real great research that can highlight the positive benefits, not just for individuals, but for society as a whole when law-abiding citizens have access to whatever self-defense means they deem is appropriate for them and their families. But, I think the assumption would lean more the other way, where the majority of this research is going to be used probably with bias and negative intentions to begin with, And then I think another fair question to ask is, you have an institution like UC Davis who controls this data. What is their willingness to allow that equal level of research? Are they only going to share it with people that maybe lean towards their own biases, or are they willing to put the information out there that might contradict their own beliefs? And it's a fair question to ask.
I think the catalyst, or maybe even just part of the catalyst, part of the reason that they're doing this in California is that the anti-gun groups are very mad that there are certain restrictions against information sharing and that sort of thing on a federal level, with the CDC and the ATF and that sort of thing. How much do you know about that? Am I explaining that well enough, or how much do you know about the restrictions or the firewalls that they have on the federal level?
Right. Yeah. So, without knowing the specific law or what was passed, but essentially, Congress prevents the sharing of information based off of data that's collected for running your background check. Right. So they can't then turn around and take that data to conduct, research with it. And to me, that goes back to not wanting to conduct research, but the inability to protect and guard that information that is so sensitive in nature. And I think that's the right way to go. You let people decide whether or not they want to participate and expose themselves to those potential risks.
Yeah, because I don't know. It's hard to trust that environment there. It's like when the law enforcement deals with terrorists and things like that. Law enforcement only has to be right, or they have to win every time. The terrorist only has to win once. It takes one social justice warrior at UC Davis to decide they're going to release 100,000, information on 100,000 gun owners, and it's done. It's out there. So it doesn't seem like it's a viable thing to think they can keep it secure like that. But again, I don't think that's the intent either. I think there's always a different or a hidden intent with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and circling back to, I think Mike asked a question earlier, how else could they do this, or is there a way they can do this research? I think there's a way, by asking the DOJ to add to some sort of, add something to their annual statistics that they're providing or the data that they're providing. They already own that information. Expand maybe what they're reporting on to, maybe cover some of those questions that are possibly going to be asked in research. I don't think that I think there's definitely people in this process who already believe the data is going to confirm whatever their position is. There's no doubt there's people that are there. But I don't see what the possible gain is going to be for those individuals based off of the data that they're getting. There's too many things in place right now that can already provide some of that information.
Yeah, it really just feels like so much of politics, is they drew a line in the sand and they said, hey, you know what? On the federal level, we're not going to release this type of information so that you can do research and use that research to ban guns. We're not going to do that. And so that line was drawn, and now the people on the other side of that line. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad or whatever. They just now we have to fight on this side of the line. We have to take on this opinion. So it doesn't matter how fruitful or important or whatever. It doesn't matter if they can get this information or they can go about this another way. All that matters is, hey, we're on this other side of this political line, and now we have to do everything we can to win. And that's what they're doing. Okay, well, in California, we're going to go after the information that we think they should be using on the federal level. And, it's not good government. What do you think, Jackson? Do you want your information out there, buddy?
Yes and no.
Yes and no? All right. That's fair. It's a very balanced answer. What do you fear about people knowing stuff about you?
Or like private information and all that. That's why I don't want them to know that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Morgan, he's 8 years old, man. He gets it.
He gets it. Sometimes that's when you got to go back. I don't think you're far off, Mike. I think that it's let's chalk this up as another win. We're just going to tout that we're doing this. It'll be interesting to see where this lawsuit goes. Again, I think their position is great in how they framed it. And let's just hope that we can get another win and stop this from going forward.
All right, hey, clean, lube, and protect your guns faster and easier with Seal One. Seal One CLP Plus is also a natural, non-toxic, environmentally friendly. Are you tired of smelling like a gas station after cleaning your guns? Well, try Seal One. Ask for it by name at your local gun shop. Clean your guns faster, better with Seal One.
I hate smelling like a gas station.
I kind of like it.
What do you think, man? Do you ever smell like a gas station, Jackson?
Thankfully, not yet.
Thankfully, not yet.
Seal One makes you hungry, though, doesn't it? Cleaning your gun?
Because it smells
good.
It smells good. Kind of smells delicious.
Well, let me guess, like Denny's spaghetti.
Yeah, well, not quite that good.
Man, oh man, he is so good at these.
Not quite that good.
Yeah, and actually, it looks like something you'd want to use chips with anyway. You know, if you get that.
And it's organic, and it's. I think
They said you could eat it.
I think it's probably vegan.
Oh my!
Your vegan gun cleaner. I'm going to ask him that next time I talk to Dwight. I'm going to ask him if Seal One is vegan. We had a pro gun vegan on the show last week. Jackson, what do you think of that?
That's very interesting.
I thought so too. All right. Okay. It is time for Stump My Nephew. Every week we take questions. If you email us a gun question and we use it on the air, we'll give you a hat or a shirt. If you stump my nephew, we will give you, I don't know what we're going to give you now. We used to give you front site memberships, but that's kind of gone away. So we'll have to think of another really cool prize.
A Michael Schwartz hug.
Michael Schwartz hug. That's the gift that keeps on giving. Okay, so this one, Sam, you there?
Yeah, how are you guys?
Good, man. How are you?
Pretty good.
What do you Seal One? What do you use to clean your guns with?
I'm kind of a traditionalist, so I use the I don't know how it's pronounced. Hoppy's Hopes number 9.
How is it pronounced? We should do a segment just on that.
That was a good question.
Well, how do you pronounce it, Joe?
I try not to because I never know how to pronounce it. It
Really?
looks like Hoppies, but I don't know.
Jackson, how do you pronounce it?
I've actually never heard of that, so I
Never
don't know
heard
the
of it?
proper way to pronounce it.
I was always taught hoppies, but then as an adult, everybody starts calling it hops and whatever. All right, my friend, you and I probably learned from the same guy to use hoppies. Where'd you pick up hoppies, Sam?
My dad always used it when I was a kid, so that's sort of what I use. I don't. I prefer that over the all-in-one like CLP stuff for certain types of cleaning. Because if I'm doing a really detailed cleaning, I like having 2 different dedicated liquids that each do one specific thing. But for just cleaning handguns, usually, I use some kind of a CLP, just quick.
I'm actually with you on that too. Like the 2-in-1s where it's a cleaner and a lubricant. To me, it was like, you remember those TVs you used to buy with a built-in VCR, and the VCR wasn't that good and the TV wasn't that good? I'd rather get a good TV and a good VCR.
I do not remember the TV.
You probably don't remember that, do you? All right.
Ours.
All right. That's enough of that. That's enough dating, Schwartz. Okay, my friend, you got a question for my nephew?
Yes.
All right, fire it up.
All right, so Chad from Huntington Beach asks, why is the Desert Eagle considered a hybrid firearm?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Chad from Huntington Beach, thanks for writing in. Now, for those of you, well, never mind. Everyone knows what the Desert Eagle is. So I haven't heard it referred to as a hybrid firearm before, but to give you a little bit of mechanical information that might explain that, it appears to use a conventional slide externally, and it does have a slide, but there's also a bolt concealed within that, and it's a gas-operated pistol. It's piston-driven. So it I haven't actually taken one apart, so I haven't had a really good look at the internals. But from what I've heard, it uses a thin gas tube like in an AR-15 to drive the gas back into the piston, but I don't know if that's entirely accurate. Anyway, the slide acts like a bolt carrier instead of a bolt, and there's another rotating bolt inside. So it functions kind of like a lot of rifles.
That's pretty dead on there. Part pistol, part revolver, and part rifle, the Desert Eagle features characteristics from all 3 types of firearms. Usually found on rifles, the Desert Eagle, or Deagle for short, uses a gas blowback system, which you described, but like the AR, Sam, and a multiple-tooth bolt face that's typically found on rifles. Multiple-tooth bolt face. That's like a Remington 700, I think, has a multiple-tooth bolt face, right? Is that right?
The 700 has a 2-lug rotating bolt. What you see on like the AR-15, AR-10 Johnson rifles with the like 6 to 8 lugs,
that's the multiple tooth.
A little
bolt
bit
face?
more of a distinctive feature. That's used to be less common, but it has some advantages.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense because they're both basically gas blowback systems. The gun is fed with a detachable magazine, a common feature in modern pistols. Finally, the Desert Eagle fires cartridges with higher pressures that only revolvers could historically handle. 357 Magnum, 44 Magnum. The biggest round it shoots is a 50 caliber AE.
And my cousin's looking for one.
Really? Well, good luck.
That's what I tried to tell him.
That's awesome, man. Why do you know about a Desert Eagle?
It's iconic enough as a firearm, and I don't use that word lightly. It is iconic enough that it kind of behooves anyone who's in this sphere to know at least a little bit about it.
That's accurate. Where does it originate from?
It was designed in Israel at either IMI or IWI, and then the design was bought by Magnum Research, which makes them today. And Magnum Research is owned by the same parent company as Car Arms.
There you go. Joe, did that clear everything up for you?
Cleared it up for me.
That's awesome,
Wow.
Sam. Good job. I don't have did you hear what happened with Front Sight?
No, I didn't hear. What's up?
They're charging a bunch of fees now, so people are everybody's jumping ship. The charity shoot that we took you to a couple years ago, that's not going on anymore. It's been canceled. So I don't know if we're going to give Front Sight memberships anymore as a grand prize. We're going to have to figure out something else.
No, I'm sorry to hear that all that's going on. I hope everything gets sorted out there.
As do I.
Well, your uncle's having a total meltdown. He's been kicking and screaming for 2 hours.
I got to tell you, we have plans in the works, don't we, Joe?
We do. We do.
We have plans in the works. We think we're gonna.
You're gonna fix them.
We're gonna fill. We think we're gonna fill the gap.
There you go.
Let's put it that way. All right, Sam. Thank you so much. Good job, Jackson, for reading the question. Thank you, Sam. You guys are both awesome.
Thanks very much for having me on, as always.
Hey, man, are you coming to Gun Prom June 18th?
Not sure if I'm going to be able to make it, but hopefully.
That sounds like a yes.
I don't want to commit to anything, but I would like to.
How about if they send you an airline ticket?
Oh, we definitely would do that.
It's not the difficulty of getting out there. It's whether or not I will have other obligations.
Yeah.
You fly out.
He's a very important guy.
Doesn't he have an airplane?
He's got I'd fly your airplane out.
Come on.
I'd take you later.
What a trip. Wouldn't that be a cool trip?
It would. It would.
It'd be a long, strange trip. Those are the best kind. All right, my friend. Well, hopefully we'll see you at Gun Prom.
All right. Yeah, I hope to see you there.
And talk to you next week.
All right, take care, buddy.
All right, good night. Bye.
All right. It's been a while, but it is time for a mic drop.
Oh, you're going to do one.
Mic drop. Jack Shue is new to the La Mesa City Council. He is recently elected, and I don't think La Mesa realizes just how much his views differ from theirs. Jack is a political extremist across the board. His background is environmental issues, but recently Jack delved into civil rights. No, not supporting civil rights. That's something Jack claims to have done in the past. No, this time Jack is going after your civil rights. Jack decided that his city council knows better than La Mesa residents do when it comes to defending their life when they are inside their homes. Jack, for no reason other than to appease special interests, has instructed La Mesa staff to waste their time drawing up the same firearms storage regulation that San Diego passed. If passed, single women who are home alone and hoping to stay safe have to be touching their firearm at all times, or it has to be locked away or in a safe or taken apart so that it is inoperable just to comply with the law. This regulation has nothing to do with kids. There's already a state law that makes it illegal for you to allow unauthorized access of a firearm to a child. It doesn't stop criminals. It's already illegal to steal guns. It doesn't have to do with CCWs at all. It only applies to your gun when inside your home. What Jack wants to do is punish a single vulnerable woman who leaves her gun on her nightstand for protection. He wants to make sure that when a robber or rapist is breaking down your bedroom door, that there are a few more steps between you and the most effective self-defense tool ever created, your gun. Jack, La Mesa gave you a chance. It's time they know who the real you is, and an extreme regulation designed to disarm victims of crime is the perfect way of showing La Mesa that they should never vote for you again. And that is this week's Mic Drop. Mic Drop.
Nice.
Did you like that, Jackson?
Yeah.
Well, high praise, my friend. I think that's the first mic drop you've heard since you've been on the show, isn't it?
Probably so.
Probably so.
I think so.
Yeah, maybe next week we'll do another You Don't Know Jack, son.
You don't know Jack, son. You could hold hands. He fixed that one.
Cool.
Hey, folks, subscribe to our show on YouTube, and when you watch a video, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. And please support all our great sponsors. San Diego County gun owners, make sure you join. U.S. Law Shield needs to be in your back pocket. The Dillon Law Group, hope you never need them. PRMI Mortgage, got to get a new house. Scott Vincent at Coldwell Banker Royalty Realty, at least you get in the right neighborhood. Sage Street Web Development, quit wasting money on other companies. National Concealed Carry Association, got to have those. Seal One, don't want to stink. And American Shooters in El Cajon. And thanks to Joe Germisi, Michael Schwartz, Sam the Gunman, Action Jackson, and the wild one in the box, Brendan Thomas. Right here on Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1 AM 1170.
The answer.
The answer.